Hey friends, welcome to the Strangers in Common podcast. I hope this finds you well, and if you're not well, that's okay. I'm always here for you. Before we jump into this episode, there's a couple things I want to go over. One, we're just starting out, so bear in mind there's always room for improvement. If you want to send me a message, I'm always open to suggestions on what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, things like that. Two, I don't really do any editing of the episodes. So you're going to hear audio discrepancies, you're going to hear noises in the background, things of that nature. So keep that in mind. As we grow, that that could improve for sure. Um, so just kind of things to keep in the back of your mind while you're listening to these episodes. So we'll go ahead and jump in. So let's get to know somebody that you don't. Today, we're going to get to know Russ. Hey, friends, welcome to the Strangers in Common podcast. I hope this finds you well, but if you're not well, that's okay. I'm always here for you. A quick production note on this episode: our guest is in Tanzania, so there might be pauses between each person speaking. The connections out there are not fantastic, but that's what causes that. So we'll go ahead and get to know somebody that you don't, and today that person is Nick. So, all right, we'll just go ahead and jump in then. Nick, thank you so much for joining me on this. We'll go ahead and jump right in and have you take us on a journey through your life, wherever you feel like starting.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Baird. I am a digital nomad calling in from Arusha, Tanzania today. I'm 30 years old, and I started this journey of really just following my dream about a year ago. And so far, so good. I pay the bills with digital marketing, and I really love how I spend my days. It wasn't always this way. My twenties were really rough, but
What
these
happened
days
in
I've
your
got a lot to be
20s?
grateful for. Oh God, so much. Um, the shortest way I can say is that I went through the ringer with mental health. Um, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 26, which turned out to be a blessing, actually, because it kind of told me the battle that I'd been in for the last 8 years or so. I didn't really know what was wrong, and I tried to white knuckle it. I tried to do it without medicine. I tried to do things without therapy, and I don't know how familiar you or your listeners might be with bipolar disorder, but basically it amplifies the emotional reactivity to life. And
Oh, okay,
I was led by my emotions for a long time, and I fell down a lot because of it.
gotcha. What what made you? Was there a certain instance that you decided you were gonna go get checked or find out what was going on?
Yeah, my hand was forced. I had a manic episode where, if you're not familiar, it's like the opposite of being clinically depressed. It's like being furiously happy about everything.
Oh,
Your mind races and talk too quickly, and you've got all these symptoms. You can give it a Google. It's really quite terrifying the way that your mind can betray you. It was the third one I'd had, but it was the first one I'd have had in public. It happened over Christmas, and my whole family witnessed me being unwell. And uh, so it was like December 27th, I think. I showed up at my cousin's house on a whim because I wanted something over there. And an hour later, the entire family was there. We didn't have a plan to meet that day. They showed up because I was there not doing so hot. And over the course of that night, they persuaded me to go to the hospital. And so the next morning, I went to the hospital. I stayed there for 10 days and I got out. And that was really my turning point. I said, okay, let's try meds. Okay, let's see if those help.
so now was it a journey with the meds? Because I know I've talked to some people, and they'll get their initial medication and it won't work, or it might make things worse, and they end up. I I've talked to some that have got discouraged because they've been through so many different medications that just haven't really turned that corner.
I was blessed. The first medicine I tried worked. I'm on lamotrigine. The clinical name is Lamictal. And
Okay.
yeah, it takes a couple months to get going. There's the only bad thing about lamotrigine is that one of the side effects, it's really rare, but one of the side effects is it can cause a deadly rash. So to mitigate that, they titrate you up. So a medically effective dose is 200 milligrams, and so they'll give you 25 for a week, and then they'll bump it up to 50, and then they'll bump it up to 100. By the time I got to 300, I was feeling a lot better. But I will say that was really only the first step. I think this is something that psychiatrists often don't understand. You can't fix things just with medicine. All the
Right.
medicine did was give me a fighting chance to build a life that I don't want to escape from. Um, so the meds gave me the stability to have the energy on a, not just a daily, but a sustained daily basis, 2 or 3 months at a time where I can build positive habits for myself.
Right.
The first ones were really, really basic, but I, I had to learn how to feed myself properly. And then I had to learn to have a proper sleep schedule, and I had to learn to exercise. And these days I call it the houseplant protocol. If you want a houseplant to grow well, it needs some water, it needs some sunlight, it needs some nutrients, and the occasional kind word.
No, that makes a ton of sense actually. I mean, even if you're not dealing with, a mental break or anything, it just makes a lot of sense to approach it that way, regardless.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the first step, is just taking care of my baseline physical health. And then that was 2019. I'd say I
Okay.
established that baseline by the end of 2020. And then the next step was building a life that I actually enjoyed. Um, my core value is community. The happiest times I ever had were when I was among community. So like in high school, I was in a marching band. So me and 200 of my favorite people spend most of the week together learning a show. And then in college, I had a pretty good group of friends freshman and sophomore year. And then in 2022, I was getting my master's and I studied abroad, and I joined what's called the Erasmus Student Network. And it's basically just like a social club for international students. When you show up in a new city, it's hard to make friends. And so the Erasmus Club organized trips, and they organized evenings at bars, and they organized parties and karaoke nights. And like literally all you have to do is hop in the group chat and show up when something's going on. And so I had community
Oh,
there.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be hard being overseas or anywhere and not knowing anyone. So that's awesome they do stuff like that.
Yeah. And so to kind of wrap up the really short version of my last decade or so, I'm a digital nomad now. I fell in love with Germany in 2022. I lived there all year as a student, and I graduated in January of last year and thought to myself, good Lord, that was the best year I've had in 10. How do I go back? And the shortest path was digital marketing. I help people get found on Google. I'm called what's called an SEO, a search engine optimizer.
Oh, okay.
And my client base is primarily local businesses, so like a tattoo shop or a restaurant or basically anyone with a brick and mortar. I help them get found, and I don't have much. I'll be honest with you. I'm 30 years old. I'm really, really behind the curve compared to a lot of my friends that I graduated from school with, but I have enough, and I adore how I spend my days. Like tomorrow, I'm meeting an expat friend. He also does digital marketing. He builds websites. His name's Anderson. He's lived in Arusha, Tanzania for 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
Got hooked up with him by a mutual connection, and he's going to take me out to a local waterfall. And 6 or 7 of his friends will be there, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm a social creature, so I'm really excited to meet some new folks. And that's just a random Saturday, right?
Right.
That's cool. I get to do
So,
stuff like that all the time.
out of curiosity, how is Tanzania? Because when you told me you were there, for some reason, I was thinking it was down like towards Australia and stuff, and I'm like, oh no, it's in Africa. Okay. So I'm curious how it is living over there.
So I've only been here a little over 2 weeks, and I got
Okay.
over the biggest shock maybe 3 or 4 days ago.
Which
So
was what?
as a per, um, well, the power goes out every night. So if I disappear from this call, that's why. Um,
Oh,
the nearly every nice piece of property in town is surrounded by a wall, sometimes with a barbed wire fence, and sometimes with an electrified fence.
oh,
Um, there are security guards that live inside these compounds. Their job is to stay up all night, sound the alarm in case somebody comes along and wants to do harm. And that was shocking. Like none of this was in the Airbnb photo.
right,
I get to my door and I'm like, where am I? What have I done?
right. Wow.
But
Yeah,
it's
that would definitely be shocking.
but I'm really grateful that I'm here now. Now that I've gotten over the shock and I feel comfortable and I've made some friends who are showing me the lay of the land. Um, the first thing I would share is that I can't get over just the stunning beauty of being here. Um, in the West, so I spent a year in Germany, so I'm saying the West now. Germany feels more like home than America does these days.
Okay.
Um, in the West, we're often told for the benefit of our mental health and our sanity, go outside, touch some grass, go to nature, get outside of the city. The concrete jungle is not
Right.
what we were designed to live in. And I step outside my front door and I'm in nature. Like there are trees with canopies, and there's like half a dozen street cats that hang around because there's a restaurant. People feed them, and I
Oh,
saw some monkeys. I don't know what they're called, but they're like little tiny monkeys, and they're known for being thieves. And they're just here. I might hear them scratch around on the roof tonight. Um,
oh wow.
the whole city looks like this. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Um, the culture here is interesting. Uh, there's not really a safety net, so it's all based on your network, and it's a mark of friendship more so than it is in the West. When you trade numbers with somebody, like if you trade numbers with somebody, it means that if your mother gets sick, if you have their phone number, expect to receive a text from them asking for some help. It's just kind of how it's done here. You have to rely on your network when something like that comes up.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, and oh man, I got so much joy from this. The Every time I walk around, when I see children, uh, they say Mzungu, which is Swahili for white person. That's what they call the white people, but really what it means is person who runs in circles and gets dizzy. It's their way of teasing us for working too hard.
Oh, okay.
Um, and they're right, we do work too hard. Um, but the children, like their eyes light up. It's oftentimes, there aren't very many white people in town. Like I can look up and down a street and see for maybe half a kilometer, and I'm the only one. And
Oh,
so when the children see someone that looks like me, they're like, whoa, and they all want to talk to me, and their eyes light up, and they speak as much English as they have, which usually isn't much. So we exchange hellos and smiles, and that's about it. But
gotcha.
it's so cool to see someone light up when they see me like that. It's so cool. Uh, and then what else?
So it is.
My expat friend.
Go ahead. You're good.
No, please go ahead. No, no, no.
I was just gonna ask. Is so you've been to Germany and Tanzania. Is there other places you have traveled as well?
I haven't lived anywhere else, but I have traveled. So I've been to Paris, I've been to Prague, I've been to Berlin, I've been to Venice, I've been to Bergamo, which is a city in Italy,
Okay.
and I've been to Munich, and I think that's it. It's been a while. I went to
Okay.
Budapest
So
almost a year ago, more than a year ago.
A lot of Europe.
Yeah, because home base was Augsburg, Germany. That's where I studied abroad, and the Erasmus network would take a trip every month or so, and I always made sure to tag along.
Gotcha. So where would you, aside from Tanzania now, where would you ideally like to live doing, the digital nomad stuff?
So I work online. I can live anywhere I like. I think what I'm going to wind up doing is, well, I know this. I'm going to settle in Germany. Uh, I, you know the story. It's the classic story. I fell in love, and so I'm going to stay. Um, so my next goal is to get a long-term visa. You only get 90 days in Germany as an American on a tourist visa. And
Okay.
so the reason I'm in Tanzania is because I had to reset my visa. So I know I'm going back to Germany. I know I'm going for a long-term stay. I'm learning the language. It's really cool. What I think I'll wind up doing is be what's called a slow mad with a home base. So home base is Augsburg, Germany, and every now and then I'll just go pick somewhere I want to visit and go stay there for a month.
Okay.
See what life is like. Yeah,
That honestly, that would be amazing. Me and my wife had talked about traveling and stuff. We just don't know where. Obviously, we want to go, but it's hard when you're there for just 3 or 4 days to get a feel for it. So being somewhere for a month or so would be ideal.
yeah, yeah. And the profession I've chosen for myself is a really big enabler. Like everyone I talk to from home just kind of thinks I'm on vacation all the time, and it's not true.
Right.
Like, I work probably 6 days a week, and I enjoy my evenings. I explore, I do normal social life things, but I work every day, and uh, just everyday life is a little bit more adventurous because I'm abroad. But
Right.
aside from where I am, I have a pretty normal day. I have a 9 to 5. I impose that on myself. I work for myself, but I have a 9 to 5 basically, and I have to cook and grocery shop and all the normal life things. I just do it in exotic locations.
So when you started this, was there any apprehension or anything? Because obviously, if you're working for yourself, there's always that chance that you don't make it, obviously, because, sometimes stuff just doesn't work out. So was there any apprehension in even, you know, doing this or going somewhere else or anything like that?
Forgive me, my you cut out a little bit there. You said something about fear of failure, I think. Is that accurate?
I- Yeah, I was just seeing if there was any apprehension when you first started the digital marketing and stuff like that.
So I couldn't quite tell you, so I'll go with the fear of failure answer because that's what I
Yeah,
used to
that's
know.
fine.
So forgive me. Um, the I don't know. I never really thought that I'd fail. I was so motivated when I came back from Germany that I knew it's what I wanted, and I worked every day for it, and I worked really, really, really hard at it. Uh, I was 29, and I moved back in with my parents, and basically every day I woke up every morning and I thought two things. One, if I fail, I'm a 29-year-old who spent a year living with his mother. Not
Right.
if I succeed. If I succeed, I'm a 30-year-old who gets to live the life that he's dreaming of. And there's like the list was very long of all the things that I loved about Germany and being abroad, and it was just motivating. It's plenty. And,
Okay, nice.
like while I'm away, now that I'm gone, I still have to make my income. I started with 4 months savings in the bank. I'm down to about two. I've got a new client, so I'm saving again now. But like, I'm also not really afraid of failure because the worst case scenario isn't that bad. This means I buy a plane ticket, I go home, and I reevaluate my next steps. So, no, the upside's really big and the downside's really small.
Gotcha. And that's a good way to look at it. I think a lot of people may not make that leap because that it's always the what if. So hearing you say that is great. That people can be like, oh yeah, I can just look at it that way.
Yeah, yeah. When you write down everything that could actually go wrong, it's less scary. The unknown is really scary, but if you write it all out and you're like, yeah, I guess I can handle that. Yeah.
Nice. Um, to kind of circle back with your mental health, did did the lockdown from COVID when everything shut down, did that affect you at all? Because you said that was 2019 when you got on your meds, so that happened pretty quickly into your journey into being better.
Um, so I definitely had ups and downs. Uh, but COVID really didn't impact me because I had been living an isolated life akin to the life people lived during COVID for years already. I was used to
Oh,
it because I
okay.
was clinically depressed. Like there were times when I was like 24 or 25 where in a 2 week period the only thing I would leave the house for would be to get groceries. And the only social contact I would have most days would be my girlfriend. And it was just not good. And so when COVID was around, I was having a conversation with another friend who has similar mental health issues. And we had a really, really good laugh because the world was discovering what it's like to live an isolated life. And she and I already knew, so we were ready for it. Now I'm very sorry for others. Like I wouldn't wish it on them, and I'm very
Right.
sad that much of the world became more familiar with mental health during COVID because it was hard for everybody. Um, but for me, it created a much larger number of people who can relate to me because they all got depressed. So
Right.
it created a larger group of friends.
And you're right. As terrible as it was, and the loss and all that stuff, it did open up people's eyes a ton, and it it's almost a blessing in disguise because I mean, realistically, no one really talked about that stuff. I mean, even when you got diagnosed in 2019, people were barely, that was barely a conversation that was had.
Yeah, silver linings. I love the optimism. I'm an optimist these days, and I always look for the silver lining. That's good.
I try to be. It's not always easy. I've had my fair share of mental health battles and depression and stuff like that. So it's not always being easy being an optimist with that mindset.
It isn't. It isn't. If I may ask, what kind of struggles have you had?
So a lot of it's been depression. A lot of it came from uh, a youth where I dealt with some sexual abuse from a relative, stuff like that. I'm 44, so growing up, when I grew up, you didn't talk about any of that stuff. It was very much, you know, man up, we don't talk about it, just shove it down, that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of depression and trying to figure out how to navigate when I couldn't really express anything. So therapy, I didn't do medication. Therapy is what helped me kind of get over the hump with that. So, but it was definitely some dark times on my side.
I can hear it in your laugh, your way of uh, trying to shuffle off the dark thoughts.
Yeah. So it's and this was there's a couple things I've done, and I used to write out how I felt, and I ended up, my wife pushed me to self publish a book, and I did that. And when I did that, it was like a weight was released where you feel um, you're carrying all this stuff by yourself, and when you put it out into the world, it almost feels like it's no longer just yours. Like you're giving it away. It's like, here, everybody can have this now and help me with it. So between that and then doing this and talking to people and getting their stories, because I feel it's important for people to know, hey, I'm going through this, but there's other people that have gone through this stuff as well. So I don't feel like I'm necessarily by myself in it.
That helps. That helps.
Hopefully. And I have to ask because my wife told me to ask, have you seen any elephants in Tanzania?
Not yet.
No.
That's a safari thing. That's a safari
Okay.
thing. Safaris are very expensive. Life is really cheap here. You can live for about $1,000 a month. Um, and probably less if you were more diligent about looking for bargains, but I'm not. I'm kind of a prissy bitch. I like my place to be kind of nice. Um, but the safaris, oh my God, it's a normal price. I've asked a bunch of people. A normal price is somewhere between $250 and $300 a day. And if
Oh
you're going to
wow.
do it, like you really ought to go for a week. Um, so I may not even go on safari. We'll see. I'm volunteering with a nonprofit next weekend, and uh, it's called the Kilimanjaro Trails Festival. The nonprofit is called Red Knot Development, and what the owner does, his name's Brett. He hosts international racing events, so like running and biking, and he
Okay.
uses the proceeds to fund community development, and all of that money goes towards agriculture. If you don't know, most developing countries have most of their population working in agriculture. So one of the first things I noticed when I got here was that just going up and down the street, there's not really zoning laws. So you can find anything basically anywhere. And oftentimes I'll see like a driveway sized plot of land being worked by somebody. So like it's a side
Oh,
hustle here. So one of the first things that a developing nation needs to do to get out of that stage is to get better at farming so that fewer people can provide food for everybody. But anyway, 2 weekends from now, I'm volunteering at the Kilimanjaro Trails Festival. It is hosted at, you guessed it, the base of Mount
right.
Kilimanjaro. And I think on the journey there, it's about a 3-hour drive. I think I'll see like some giraffes and some elephants and stuff.
Okay.
And then if not, that's okay.
Right.
There's plenty to see just stepping outside. Like there are monkeys. There are monkeys that live outside my door. Like cool. That's plenty.
Right. Yeah. I would fully agree with that. As long as they're not breaking in and stealing your stuff, then I think you're good.
Yeah, yeah. I had a big grin on my face when I first saw them. I took some photos and sent them to family. And they all said the
Oh
same
no.
thing. They're like, "Be careful, the monkeys are thieves."
I just out of curiosity, how would they know? I mean, you might have some good monkeys living
No,
by you.
I don't know, but they must have a reputation because about 3/4 of the people I sent that photo to all asked if they stole anything. I didn't think monkeys were thieves, but I guess there's something in the collective consciousness I wasn't aware of until now.
So now I do know there's stuff on social media, and I don't know where the monkeys are, but you see them around all the tourists just snagging their stuff. But I don't know if that's necessarily the same monkeys or where you're at. I mean, that could just be a
I
general
have no idea.
observation.
I have no idea.
Observation. So
Um,
how do I'm assuming since you're digital, you can promote pretty much anyone anywhere.
yeah, yeah.
So how do people get in touch with you if they need to promote any of their businesses?
I'm on LinkedIn every day. Um, I have a plan in the near future to get on Facebook as well. I think there will be more local businesses on Facebook than on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's more of a corporate place.
Okay.
So there's LinkedIn, and then I'm a very talkative, charismatic person. I love making friends, and so a lot of my clients have just been coming out of naturally meeting people.
Oh,
My most
nice.
recent client, he's a tattoo artist. He runs Indigo Tattoo Estudio. That's the Spanish word for studio. So Studio, Indigo Tattoo Estudio. He lives in Spain. He's originally from Venezuela. He left with his wife and girlfriend to live a better life. And he was sharing my flat in Airbnb in Germany.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, when you're having the normal get to know you conversation, he goes, "Hey, I'm a tattoo artist. That's what I do. What do you do?" And I'm like, "I help local businesses get found on Google, just like yours." And we kind of like made this look at each other and we're like, we should talk. And yeah, so we've got him a website live. I'm doing all the SEO things that need to happen, and we're making progress. And I'm really excited to get some results for him.
Nice. And I can tell you, because I just looked him up real quick, he does do good work. Um,
He does. My job's
that's
easy. He's a great artist. All I've got to do is put it in front of people.
yeah, that's really cool. Um, and I'm sure you could help pretty much any company grow from where they're at, especially smaller ones.
Yeah, so my degree is in finance, so I really like working with financial advisors or tax advisors or accountants. I wrote 30,000 words on the topic last year, and I grew an accounting firm's web traffic. I
Wow.
doubled it. Um, and so my strongest niche is probably finance. I also want to work with lawyers. I have a former side hustle where I bought and sold textbooks from law students. And
Oh,
so I
okay.
got to know the culture and the community around them really, really strongly. And so lawyers, financial advisors, accountants, um, tattoo artists, HVAC professionals, blue collar work. Um, I've got a friend from school who does like a trash cleaning service. And so he and I are talking about how I might be able to help him.
Oh, nice.
It takes all kinds, but if you've got a brick and mortar, I could probably help.
That's really awesome. Do you, would it help digital stores at all, or not? Not so much.
So you can do what I do digitally. There's a whole industry around it. You can do e-commerce. You can try to get national level rankings through Google, but I'm
Oh,
shying
okay.
away from clients that want to rank outside of geographic areas because I think the winds are blowing in the wrong way for that, and it's less valuable than it once was. So I'm sure you've noticed that the Google results page is full of ads, which is bullshit.
Yes.
So like the things that I do get people into the map pack and they get people into the organic results. And everything they add every year pushes that lower and lower. Not only that, but there was an algorithm update about 6 months ago, which was meant to combat AI spam sites. But what it ended up doing is shifting traffic from small websites to large websites. And so
Oh,
that's only the second thing too. The third thing is with ChatGPT, Google and Bing are experimenting with what's called generative AI. You may have noticed it as like a beta
I
tester, like an unconsenting beta tester. But basically, imagine ChatGPT answering your question directly in Google.
yeah, I've
That is fully rolled out, and
go
if
ahead. You're
that's
good.
fully rolled out, web traffic will drop by like half. Because there's no reason to click into a website, and so I work with local businesses because they're not in danger from that hurting their business because the way people look for local businesses will remain the same. You Google it, you look for reviews, you check the website to make sure they're legit, and you call for a quote. That won't change. So that's why I work with local rather than national digital companies.
No, that makes sense. And yeah, the Chat GPT, the AI, all that stuff. I've seen it pop up. I've tried, Dave, hey, try this. I'm like, I'm good. I don't want none of that stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So, do you have, aside from LinkedIn, do you have a website or anything like that? If people need to get a hold of you, or
I do. It's nick-baird.com. As of this
perfect.
recording, the website's not ready. Give me like a month and it'll look good. But right
It,
now, it's aimed at an old niche, and so it's not speaking to local brick and mortar clients right now.
gotcha.
So
And it
soon
might,
it will look good. The best the best place to find me is on LinkedIn.
perfect. And when we publish the episode, obviously we'll put your links up with it and everything so people can find it. Is there anything else you
Right
feel
on.
like
Thank you.
sharing? Of course.
Um, yeah, I really like dad jokes. Do you want to hear one?
Yeah, go ahead. I love dad jokes.
Right on. So this one's a real hit with everybody I meet abroad. What do you call someone who speaks 3 languages?
What?
Trilingual. How about 2 languages?
be bilingual.
Correct. One language?
Omnilingual? I don't know.
You call them an American.
That's that's fair.
It's funny because it's true.
It is, unfortunately. And I don't know how many times I've tried to learn a second language and just can't for whatever reason, but that is absolutely true.
Cool. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Of course, Nick, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And like I said, we'll make sure everybody has your links and stuff like that. So we'll, I got you on Messenger and stuff like that. So if I hear anything, I'll definitely let you know. Of
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
course, have a great day. All right. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode. Thank you, Nick, for recording with me. It's always appreciated from everyone involved, from the listeners to the guests. In case you guys didn't see, we launched the website stickopodcast.com. On there, you'll find links to how you can listen. You'll find episode transcripts, which there'll be more coming. That is a bit of a process to do. You'll find links for any guest endeavors. So if they have something they're promoting or they got something going on, you'll find a page for that. You'll also find our merch store. So t-shirts, hoodies, coasters, cups, all kinds of stuff on there. We got more designs coming. If you guys think of anything you want to see on there, definitely let me know. You can follow me on the socials, Sticko Podcast on pretty much everything, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that stuff. We are on YouTube. The first season completely is up there with videos. The second season will be coming soon. Again, that is being worked on. So all that stuff is available to you guys wherever you need it. And again, stickopodcast.com has links for all of it. So I appreciate you guys. So until next time, be safe. Don't be a stranger.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening with us on this episode. Hopefully, it clicked with some people. Maybe it didn't. Maybe you just had some fun, which is perfectly fine as well. Remember, you can find me on the socials, Sticko Podcast, STICO Podcast, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Email is stickopodcast@gmail.com. You can shoot me a message. I always like hearing from everybody. If you just want to talk, you can reach me there. If you want to be on an episode, send me a message. We'll definitely record something. And until next time, be safe and don't be